Hey, welcome back to Pop Culture Maniacs podcast. We you're joining you today are Kieran Freemantle, which is my beautiful self, and TV editor Gene Henegan. We are going to talk about Big Mouth, Netflix's popular adult animation series about following the lives of a group of middle schoolers struggling through puberty. Obviously, with Big Mouth, so far lasted for 4 seasons, and I believe they've got another 3 already in the works, haven't they?
Yeah, they've been a huge bright spot and relatively cheap to produce for Netflix. So Netflix is going to greenlight them as long as they possibly can.
Exactly. So yes, and you'd have thought that would have started because if you remember that first ever trailer for the first season, the like to dislike ratio on the trailer on YouTube was really bad. I think it did that was a great example of a bad trailer doesn't mean you haven't got a good product.
Yeah, when I initially heard the pitch of this show, I was like, oh, are you kidding me? This is going to be an utter disaster. And I actually didn't want to watch it at first. I was very reticent. But a couple other TV critics really loved it. So I said, all right, I'm going to trust them. And they were so right. It's such a dirty, ridiculous show that's still so true to what life is like when you're in middle school that it's freeing to watch people deal with the same things that you dealt with.
Exactly. I think everyone could relate to a character in some capacity. um, I know in your recent review that you're not a fan of Nick, but I would say when I was younger, I would have related a bit to him in the sense I was a late bloomer. I was usually quite small compared, and yeah, I developed a bit later than other people when puberty struck. And I think for Jessie is a character we can all relate to because of her problems with depression and anxiety. Andrew sort of like being lovelorn. And so yeah, we can all relate to some of the characters in some way.
Yeah, that's a really great thing is that there's universality to adolescence that um, everybody experiences. Even if you were the most popular kid in middle school, you still had insecurities. You're still nervous about things. You still had things you didn't like about yourself and about people around you. And, everybody had that. And I think, Big Mouth kind of goes hand in hand with the Hulu show Pen 15, which is a similar show. And it was even, meta referenced in this past season of Big Mouth because they had the 2 leads and co-creators of Pen 15 pop on as characters in Big Mouth because they're doing the same thing. They're looking at what adolescence is like in middle school and looking back at it now, the traumas that you remember, they're ridiculous, but it's the biggest deal. It's the biggest thing. You're so worried about every minute detail of your life. And being able to watch shows like Big Mouth and Pen 15 and laugh about it now kind of helps fix the lingering pain and anxiety that you still have built into you from that time.
Yeah. Oh, one of the things I really like about Big Mouth is it does look at female puberty as well, because a lot of media just sort of skip it or avoid it. Obviously, maybe it's the media I consume that obviously I don't experience, but it does seem like a subject that not many shows or films really look at.
Well, that was one of the big things Nick Kroll and John Mulaney were talking about when they were creating the show. Is that with Jesse Klein, who's one of their co-creators, they were saying, well, yeah, we're going to talk about, boys and what they go through and how bad it is. And we'll have, the girls, but yeah, we won't really get into, the ins and outs of it too much because, why do that? And the response was, you have to. What are you talking about? You have to do it. You have to make it equal. It's not going to make women angry to see their experiences represented on screen in humorous and ridiculous ways because it is humorous and ridiculous. And I thrilled that they convinced the guys on the writing staff that they should just, everything they do to the guys, they need to put the same microscope on the female characters and, kind of walk through what they're going through as well.
Yeah, because I think with when it comes to female puberty, I think ultimately a lot of men do get grossed out by it, and obviously, well, we shouldn't really, but I think it's just the way we unfortunately just see things how we've grown up. Say with me, it was mum, dad, brother, so it was a pretty male-dominated household. So yeah, we didn't really have to worry about think about those issues.
As someone who grew up as one of 3 sisters, it was very different in my house.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we didn't deal with anything about, what guys go through in puberty because we never had to deal with it growing up because we didn't have any brothers. So yeah, it's very interesting for me personally to like see the guy experience because I never was exposed to that beyond, like gross out comedies from the 80s. So it's definitely been eye-opening for me as well.
Yeah, I think it's also, they do try and cater for so much of the spectrum with people with the so much of the sort of sexual orientation spectrum. So you obviously got straight guys, gay characters, bisexual, all sorts. I would like to see them do an asexual character in a future season or something, like, because I know he's a supporting character, Caleb, because it's implied that he's got autism or Asperger's, what his experience would be, even if it's just for one episode, since he was.
Yeah, I mean, one of the best elements of BoJack Horseman was that they turned one of the characters, Todd, into an asexual character on the show and kind of explored what that meant. And I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if in the next season or 2, Big Mouth goes there. I mean, Big Mouth is clearly willing to tell whatever story they think is going to work. So,
but they did get into trouble because in the 3rd season, with their description of pansexuality with the character of Ali, because I think it was pretty much described as very simplistic. Admittedly, I'm not too up to speed, but so I'm sure you'll tell me how I'm wrong. But pansexuality sounds very similar to being bisexual.
I think the best description I've seen on television of pansexuality would be on Schitt's Creek, where David says that, he likes white wine, he likes red wine, he likes rosé wine, he just likes wine. The label on the bottle doesn't matter to him. So I think that's kind of the best way to look at it.
Okay, I see. So it's just I'm not so up to it, so obviously I don't want to cause any offence, not even accidentally.
Oh no. I mean, the key is asking questions. That's the best way to do it.
Yeah. So also with I think for me the best seasons were season 2 and season 4, and for me, because I think they do go into some pretty heavy stuff. I like sort of, as the series evolved, sort of like things like the hormone monster sort of more amplify what the characters were really thinking. Or you obviously got the introduction of the depression kitty and Tito. 2nd season sort of looking at sort of Jesse's downward spiral. 4th season having a relapse into depression.
Yeah, I mean, as the show's gone on, I've found that I tend to be more excited for episodes that are focused around the hormone monsters or the depression kitty or Tito, and those existential characters that impact the kids. I find more more enjoyable to watch, which is partly why I'm very excited for the hormone monster spinoff that's coming next year, hopefully. But a lot of those characters, like Maury has become a far more nuanced character than he was before, and frankly, anything that involves Maya Rudolph saying anything ever is worth my time.
Yeah, I think again with the fourth season, well, like it's how like with Jessie, depression, anxiety, and hormones all spiraled with because she ended up making the bad decision of going out with that Michelangelo character. And I was immediately thinking when they did the special hand job episode where he was like pretty much trying to pressure her to commit this, to do the sexual act, and I was thinking, don't do it, Jessie. It shows how invested I was into the show and the characters, if that's what I was thinking.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I find myself just like rooting for them, and whenever Andrew goes on one of his really strange, awful incel spirals, I just am like, somebody talk to him. Somebody tell him that he needs to not do what he's doing. That it's going to be okay.
Yeah, I like that with Andrew because he certainly when he started, he was like a nice kid who just obviously had a devil on his shoulder because, like in the second episode, he supported his friend when she had obviously her embarrassing incident.
Yeah, and that's the I think the brilliance of the show is that you see how puberty changes everybody, and it can be in strange ways that you can't possibly fathom why this is happening. Because Andrew was such a nice kid, and Jessie, was this really sweet, quiet girl who's now, depressed and moody and angry, and Andrew's angry. And now Nick's angry. Everyone's angry because that's what happens when you're 13 or 14 years old. You just get angry.
Yeah, and I think because as you said in your review of the fourth season, it's obviously exploring what's its name, Missy's racial identity because she lived quite a sheltered life, so she never really explored those questions. And obviously, they changed the voice actress, but I did like that they actually made it into a story point. They didn't just simply went one day we're going to change the voice actress.
Yeah, and it was a really cool moment too to have it, tie in a bit to Jordan Peele's Us and the idea of fractured identity, and it was just really well done in a way that I honestly wasn't expecting to be as handled as well as it was. And I, kudos to them for making that decision and making that change and doing it as seamlessly as they did.
Yeah, it's because like so like something like The Simpsons, obviously they changed it. Like no, like Carl, in the newer seasons they changed the voice actors. He just sounds so wrong now because he sounds so different.
Yeah, I mean the key with the Big Mouth change, of course, is that Io DeBerry was a fan of the show. This doesn't make me feel so old. She was a fan of the show in college, and it's only been on 4 years, so how can somebody that young exist? But she was a fan of the show in college and really loved the character Missy. And so when she got on the writing staff, she knew her voice. She understood the character in a way that bringing someone in who had, just a general actor wouldn't have. So it was a really great move.
And I would say also I think the new voice actress her voice is a little deeper, but it's not that major. It's all not. And obviously with the fourth season, Missy's arc was her metamorphosis. So she went from her obviously her minion look to something a bit more mature.
Yeah, and just that whole journey she took is just, I really, really enjoyed it a lot.
So, who would have thought the show with so much, lots of swearing and gross out humour would be actually probably one to end up being so nuanced.
Yeah, I mean, it was a close one to put it on my top 10 list this year. Yeah. I enjoyed it a lot, and what I always say is in the best television shows care about character first, story second. And they've really put in the work to build these characters and turn them into people that we genuinely care about. And so once we have that foundation, you can put them through the gauntlet and people will be willing to watch it.
With Big Mouth, though, there has been a backlash from some people, especially in the animation community, that they really don't like the show. Obviously, I would say I'm not a fan of the art style, but I think obviously with the story and the characters working so well, I think you can look past it a bit more, especially the more time has gone on. There is also the outrage people like who say like Big Mouth's just child porn, and you're just wondering, have they even watched the show?
As I've found, people who get outraged about things, the vast majority have not watched the thing which they're outraged about.
Yeah, it's sort of like saying like when I like watched Cuties, a lot of people like, because obviously that was a controversial French film on Netflix, and going maybe watch it first before passing judgment.
Oh yeah, years ago I went to see a musical called Scottsboro Boys, which is a brilliant, brilliant musical, and I had to walk through protesters who had not seen the show. And like, why are you protesting? You don't know what the show's about. So, if something's truly heinous or egregious, the people who've seen it will tell you it is. But if you're just going off of speculation from a small minority of individuals who haven't watched the thing, then you're likely not getting the full story of what you're seeing.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think in summary, we both like Big Mouth quite a bit.
Yes, it's very good. I enjoyed it a lot. People should watch it.
So there you go. I think particularly it's probably going to be a great show if you are actually that age bracket, sort of like 12 to 18, because you could probably that age group could probably relate to it even more.
Yeah, and I'd also like to put in a plug, if you have access to the Hulu show Pen 15, it's a perfect show to watch in tandem with Big Mouth. And if you like Big Mouth, you'll love Pen 15, especially if you're an older millennial, because it's set in 2000 in middle school, and that's exactly when we were all there. So you'll see a lot of things you recognize.
Yes, even if you're only 10 years old right now, you'll recognize the middle school life in the early 2000s.
Oh yeah. Oh man. I still have moments where I think back to middle school and go, oh God, why?
Again, go watch Big Mouth if you enjoy your adult animations. It's probably one of the better adult animated shows at the moment. So
Enjoy Maya Rudolph saying the word bubble bath, because it's an art, which he does with it.
Yeah. So I think with that, we said go watch Big Mouth. To our listeners, thank you very much. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever. And hope to hear from you soon. Cheers. Bye.